So my name is Zoya Hassan, and I'm the Assistant Director of Student Aid and Admissions at the Gabelli School of Business. My role is pretty unique because I get to work with the admissions team, like behind the scenes when it comes to the recruiting events and with developing budgets, because we do offer scholarships at the time of admissions. And then I also get to work with students as they're progressing through the program, finding ways for them to finance their education. So our fees, they're different. They vary based on the master's program that the student is in. We do charge at a per credit rate, and currently we're charging $1,732 per credit. Most of our programs are about 30 credits, so that with the fees included end up being about $55,000 for the entire program. And then we have a couple programs that are 36 credits, and so those are about $65,000. And then we have our master in quantitative finance, which is a flat rate of $66,000. And then our fees, they cover access to like the classrooms, the campus, professors, gyms, the tutoring center, any professional development, networking sessions that we have, and then also to the career center. So I would say that our tuition fees are actually on the same level. It's like the median amount that other Masters of Science programs are at, because the Masters of Science programs, especially the ones that are comparative to ours, are about $62,000. And then if you take into account the scholarships that we offer, we're actually on the lower end, on the slightly lower end when it comes to our master's programs. So for the living expenses, we don't actually bill any living expenses, but we do create a budget, because federally, if a student is going to take out any type of loan, or if we're giving a student grants, you can't receive more funds than your cost of attendance. And so the living expenses that we budget out for students, and it can change per student, we're assuming that a student will be living in New York City in one of the 5 boroughs. So we budget out with books and supplies, transportation, utility bills, and food costs, a total of $24,400 for 10 months. For 1 year of study, so if we're assuming that a student is going to complete their master's in 1 year, we would expect for the student to budget out around $80,000. So we're talking about $55,000 in tuition, and then about another $25,000 in living expenses. And most of those living expenses are coming from rent, and then we have, we assume that a student is going to buy books and supplies, maybe a new laptop that first semester. There's going to be about $4,000, transportation, because not a lot of our students are actually going to live in New York City. Like, they're going to live in New York City, but not in Manhattan. So if they're going to be taking the train in, they're going to buy a Metro card. And then we also have budgeted in there for just like personal expenses, personal hygiene expenses, and then food. So all of that together. So there's a couple of ways to finance. We do obviously, first of all, offer scholarships, but scholarships are merit-based, and those are given upon admissions. And then for our domestic students, they have the opportunity to apply for a federal direct loan, which is a U.S. Department of Education backed loan, and students can borrow up to $20,500 per academic year from a federal direct loan, as long as they complete the FAFSA and they're registered in at least 6 credits in our master's programs. And they have to have not defaulted on any prior student loans, and they couldn't have already borrowed up to $138,000 already. So given that most of our students will not fall into that category, they are okay to borrow as long as they are a domestic student, meaning they have to be a US citizen or a permanent resident. And then once they've borrowed the $20,500, if they still feel that they want to borrow up to that full cost of attendance of, let's say, $80,000, then they can go ahead and apply for a Graduate Plus loan. And a Graduate Plus loan is also a federally backed loan. So it's, again, backed by the U.S. Department of Education. It's very similar to the federal direct loan. However, there's a couple of key differences. The first is that there is a credit check that's required. So a credit check is done, and if the student is okay with their credit check, then the student can borrow up to their cost of attendance as long as they've met the prior requirements of at least being enrolled in at least 6 credits. And yeah, so this lets you borrow pretty much up to your cost of attendance. There's no maximum cap of $20,500, which the federal direct loan does have. So you can fully finance if you're a domestic student between the federal direct loan and the Graduate Plus loan. And then for our international students, they can always apply for private loans. We do have a couple of partners that we work with, like Prodigy Finance, Empower Loans. So there are loans available. And then for international students, if they have a U.S. cosigner, then they would have a host of other private loan options, such as Sallie Mae, Discover Bank. So there are more options if they have a U.S. cosigner. Other than that, our students are free to work part-time if they like. We don't have any restriction on that. And then we also offer graduate assistantships. They are selective, but they can help reduce the cost of tuition from anywhere from $3,500 to $7,020 per term. And that would entail a student working anywhere from 10 hours to 20 hours a week with either a faculty member on some research that the faculty member is doing or within one of our staff departments. And then we also have continuing student scholarships, which students can apply for once they're already enrolled at Fordham and have completed about 9 credits. So we have admission scholarships, which are merit-based, and those are offered upon admissions. We have a Dean Scholarship, which can range anywhere from $3,500 to $30,000 for the academic year. And then we have an Early Leader Scholarship, which is mostly for our Fordham undergraduate students who want to pursue their master's degree at Gabelli now. And then we have Continuing Student Scholarships, which are scholarships for our continuing students, and a large chunk of this actually comes from endowments that we receive. So those are endowed scholarships. And then we have the graduate assistantships, which are also, even though a student is working for it, it is a scholarship because they won't be paying any taxes on it. So it's like essentially you're getting tuition remission for doing the work without being taxed. So the ROIs, those are determined by our Center for Career Development, and what they're looking at is the rate at which our graduates attain positions and also their salaries. So that's a percentage calculation that they do. The salaries, they do vary based on the master's program that the student graduated from, but right now, based on our class of 2021, the average exit salary for someone who got a master's at Gabelli is $63,987. Why Gabelli? I would say definitely for the community. You know, most of these master's programs that our students are going to apply to, everywhere there's going to be wonderful professors. We have that. We have wonderful professors who are, they're doing their research and they're in their field, and students can learn a lot from our professors. They're amazing. We have a great networking system. We have a wonderful career development center that's, going to do all they can to make sure that our students graduate with a job by the time they graduate. But really the community that you can find at Gabelli is going to be hard to find anywhere else. And networking is so important, especially when it comes to the business world. And it's just the connections that you'll make at Gabelli, they're lifelong connections. It's not just transactional. It's a very, very supportive community. So I would definitely say the community is one of the things that is very exclusive to Gabelli. My advice would be, so for the application process, definitely speak more to your merits because we want to know where you're coming from, and then like where can we take your strengths and grow them even more so. Also, don't be afraid to speak to your flaws because we want to be there to make you the best version of you. So definitely be open and honest. Take the opportunity on the essay to really let us know who you are. And when it comes to financing, be very real about your own spending habits because we do sometimes have students who can see that like, oh, here's my cost of attendance, I can borrow up to $80,000. Why not do it? Because those loans are going to be something that you have to pay back. It's not free money, it's going to collect with interest. So try your best to be honest about how you're spending and then only borrow as much as you need.